Wait.
Hi, guys. Oh,
Wait.
Pat lost her earplugs right at the beginning of the broadcast.
I know.
It's okay.
There we go.
It's fine. I can edit that out when we post it. So I'll try it again. Hi, guys. Hi, my name is Julia Reed Nichols.
And I am Kitty DeMille, and we have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself, Tonya?
Hey, I'm Tonya Kay. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. So, Tonya, what do you do in the world of sexy?
Exist. I define in the world of sexy. I'm a burlesque performer. I'm a career professional dancer. I'm a pinup model. I'm a producer of a pole show that combines burlesque and pinup. And what else? Oh, specialty artist, just kind of like assertive, kind of aggro, cool, dominating chick things.
Nice. And how did you get into that world?
I got into that world. Well, I got into sexy because I think that sexy is mainly your confidence within yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I look back and my parents started me in community theater when I was like 6 years old. And I remember we would be backstage as a child and I saw adult men doing quick changes down to their underwear. You know, sometimes your change would be so fast, you just exit the stage and you're still in the wings, stripping off your dress, putting on another dress, and then jumping right back out on stage as a child. So I always thought of my body as a tool for performance. And I think that confidence in being whatever I am and who I am kind of came from theater. So sexy started with the confidence that theater gave me. Just being around other people who were using their bodies to perform and tell a story and make art. But I remember the first time, so I went on to do professional dance and I'm doing theater and I'm doing tours and I sing and I'm acting and blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was on tour with Stomp at this time. And the first time that I saw a performance art as sexy and wanted to do it because of that was I'm a pagan. I was at this cool pagan gathering, big festival, and the cool kids, like the young people, kind of took me away from the big bonfire, the community bonfire, and we had our own small bonfire. And they started fire dancing, and it wasn't just fire dancing. It was this one lesbian girl so specifically. And it was how she danced while she was fire dancing. And it was the way she felt it and moved. And I saw that and I was like, this is sexy and I want to do it. So that started all of my specialty arts and fire specifically. And then, I ended up in LA at a certain point in my career. And I don't think I even knew what burlesque was, but I said to my now lover, we had just met that day. He was like, "What are you doing in LA?" And I was really couch surfing. But my answer came out, I'm going to be doing burlesque. I didn't even fucking know what it was, but but there it was. That was kind of the start of my concept of another sexy performance art was burlesque. And now I do champagne glass and I have my own show and, burlesque galore all the time. So much fun.
I mean, I think I've told you this, but literally the first time I saw burlesque and I wanted to do it was watching a Netflix special that you were on when I was in college in Michigan. And I was going to Western Michigan University, and it was like, what was it? It was called like Live Nude Comedy or something. Yeah. You did this bullwhip number, and I remember being like, that girl with the dreads is so cool. I want to know her. And then, I just thought you were so awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cool. And it's funny that you bring that up because that was early in my burlesque career.
Mhm.
So I had done a few like comedy, like, you know, how live comedians will rotate in a burlesquer sometimes. So I had done a few of those shows, but I wasn't really, you know, everybody starts somewhere. So I was a professional dancer. It's not that I didn't know how to dance. I didn't know how to perform. No, I knew how to do those things, but I didn't have the art of burlesque down yet. And my first couple tries were pretty bad. Like, I mean,
as most people.
Yeah, and when I'm saying I'm not agreeing to yours being bad. I'm agreeing to everyone's being bad.
Yeah, because you don't know that you're going to pop a pasty. You're like, whoa, or you don't know that the sound guy is going to play somebody else's music.
Right.
You don't know how to handle that stuff yet. So the show, Showtime's Live Nude Comedy, I auditioned for it, and I had my lover as my assistant. I was cracking whips, cracking flowers out of his mouth at the audition. I was so proud of him. And they hired me, and I felt like, oh, now I'm on TV. You know, when you're on stage, you have opportunities to kind of mess up and not a lot of people see you. But when you're on TV, you don't get that chance. A lot of people are going to see you mess up. So I took that act specifically, like really seriously, and I developed it before I ever performed it. On stage, I do it the opposite way. And I have good instincts now, so I can pretty much step out with a developed act. But on stage, you can develop. You add to the costume the fourth time you do it, or you find those moments. But I did not do that with the Showtime one. I developed it, and I did it over and over and over again so that I knew when I got on TV that I wouldn't be showing somebody my tries at having a good burlesque act. And that act has gone on to be kind of like one of my signature acts. And it was pretty much my first real burlesque act. And it's awesome that it inspired you, Julia.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, no, and I mean, I literally remember. So, and I honestly felt like I manifested you, because I think it was like my second day in LA. I went to yoga class, and I like laid down my mat, and there you were, like next to me at the hot yoga place with your dress. And I was like, that girl, I saw her just like a couple months ago.
and I can second this, because like Julia told me that she saw you.
Yeah.
She would be like, oh my God, it's the girl from Netflix.
And then you realize every yoga class you take has somebody that you just saw in it when you're in LA.
So true.
Hey, but you know, day 2, you were my big spot.
That's really cool.
Now, Tonya, you have a tagline of the most dangerous woman in Hollywood. How did you develop that? And then like, also let's go through like all the crazy acts you do, because you do a lot of very interesting specialty work stuff.
Yeah, I was doing specialty work before in experimental theater, like Stomp and De La Guardia and experimental stuff. And that led to specialty stuff. And I was doing that before I was doing burlesque. So I had skills before burlesque. And that's what I love about burlesque is you should work in whatever your skills are. So if you are a professional dancer, for goodness sake, dance. And if you're a singer, for goodness sake, sing. And if you do bull whips, grinder girl, knife throwing, what else? Fire tits, fire whips. I could go on. I can't even remember all the skills that I have, but it's a lot. And at the time, I kind of got the tagline because Philip Solomon is an old school circus cat, real cool dude. He doesn't live in LA anymore, but he did. And he kind of ruled the LA circus scene for a long time, as far as I'm concerned. He's just well loved and really great at what he does and creates huge circus themed events and is a pleasure to work with. And he's a host. And he introduced me, he said, he gave me 2 of my most commonly used nicknames, including my tagline. One is Creature. The first time we met, he goes, "What kind of creature are you?" And I was like, I am a creature. It's like a cute monster. And then I went on Who Wants to Be a Superhero? And guess what my character's name was? Creature. So Philip gave me that. And he also introduced me as the most dangerous woman in Hollywood when he brought me up on stage. Because at that time, me and Jack Dagger were doing like knife throwing and bullwhips. There was no burlesque to it. But I kept that name because it was kind of mine beforehand. Also, that is, when you already have a career in the performing arts, you do have to decide at a certain point because, like some strippers go with a stripper name, some burlesquers go with a burlesque name, but I was already Tonya Kay as a performer. So it felt more natural just to add a tagline behind it, starting from scratch and calling myself a name nobody knows. So that's how I got to be the most dangerous woman in Hollywood. And it was really kind of like that whip act. When it became burlesque, I incorporated, of course, all the crazy stuff that I do into my acts. And the whip act and the grinder girl act have become two of my and fire tits. I have fire pasties. Those are three of my most favorite, most wanted signature acts that people ask for. And then the longer I've done it, I've matured as a person. I've changed, and I enjoy the glamour aspect of burlesque now, where in the beginning I really didn't care about that much. And I enjoy fancy costumes and rhinestones, and you get to make in your own stuff. And now, not only do I do the dangerous stuff, but I fabricated the giant champagne glass and the burlesque bathtub and a whole show based on kind of like a different aesthetic. So that's fun. There's no rules in burlesque. That's why I like it, because you can really take that performance art and do exactly what you want. You want to dance to this music? Go do it. My other dance gigs, you dance the music that the choreographer and the directors pick out. It's not so much you, but this is solo work, and it's fun, and it's what you say it is. And I love the creativity that goes into it.
Yes, you do a great job. Like your shows are very artistic overall. The ones you created, such as the Pinup Pole show.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. It's true. It's true. I remember when you were like workshopping your Shirley Temple number, and like you like we were doing. It was like one of the first times I saw it, and you like dragged these giant lollipops to Trip before Trip had been renovated, and I was like, this is. Wow.
Trip is awesome. Kira, Lola Boutte, and Trip Tease and the Dollface Dames have done so much for so many of us in the burlesque world, because they've been around, like the longest running weekly show in Santa Monica. And they have so many more shows than just Trip, but amazing, amazing work. I use that stage many times to develop acts on, like, because it's a safe place. It's a safe place. You get to know your regulars. If you screw up, then they love you. If you don't screw up, they love you.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice development stage. It's a nice performance stage. I've put a lot of acts on that stage first.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like being a comic, where it's like most comics want to work their material over and over again before they get the Netflix show, because they want to know where the beat should be. They want to know where like the transitions, and all of that's true of burlesque too. I feel like the first time you do an act, you're just like, okay, can I actually get this off when I'm supposed to? And sometimes you don't. Like sometimes there's the times where like you're like, nope, the bra never came off. Sorry.
That's true.
You're like, the music's over. Sorry, act done.
Sorry.
I rely on the audience a ton. I listen to them. I feel them.
Yeah.
And so I can plan the act to technically a great degree in my living room, but you never know what the audience is actually going to think the funny part is, or where you should pause a little longer, or make that little wink to the audience. You only get that from their response by being present and listening to them. So it's necessary. I always say it takes me, like the first time I do an act, it's amazing because the adrenaline, you know,
Yeah.
you got this adrenaline and it just works out great. The second time kind of flops. And you're like, it's the same act. Why? The third time, usually it's okay because you're learning the beats. And then the fourth time, it's solid. So for me, it takes the fourth time is when it's solid. The first time is going to be great, but the fourth time is when I get to start enjoying doing that act as it over and over and over and getting it, you know, yummy.
Thoroughly agree with that. Like I always said, it took about 5 times to get to the point where you can play, where you know everything that you need to know. So then you just play with the audience between the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
How has it been during COVID, not having an audience and trying to create and still be an artist?
Well, it's been hard for me. I've worked a handful of days since March. I'll just be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I produced one virtual event for Pinup Pole Show, and it went well. It went well. It was fun. And I've done a couple virtual events with Lola Boutte with the Dollface Dames or Trip Tease. But if pandemic has shown me anything, it's kind of like I am not a candidate for loving the digital age. Like these virtual things they don't do it for me. As a performer, it's not artistically fulfilling. I can't feel my audience. You know, it sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks. My living room is my living room. I mean, it's sexy in terms of I have sex here, but it's not a stage, and it's not it's not beautiful like a stage. I love theater, you know. I love theater. So it's been hard for me to like make that transition. Have I attended other people's shows? Yes. I love the effort we're all putting in, but virtual shows are not it for me. It's not it.
Yeah.
I wish it were, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I feel kind of similarly. There's for pinups, we were allowed to tour in some states from July to October. We got a couple shows in, and it felt just so amazing. And everything was social distancing with masks and temperature checks, but I didn't care. You know what I mean? I was like, just give me live human beings to entertain, and that's all I need.
Yeah. You know, I have gotten, because I rent out the champagne glass as an installation for private parties, and I make a lot of money, usually, not this year, doing that through the holidays specifically. Like people just increase their interest in the champagne glass as the holidays get closer, and they spend more money on parties as the holidays get closer. So I usually rely on like the last 3 months of the year to bring in income, often renting out the champagne glass with me as an installation. And, you know, I still was getting called because LA's been on lockdown. Like no gathering is allowed. And still you see, it gets so frustrating because still you see people gathering, and you're like, if I can't perform and make a living, then how can people get on that airplane and sit right next to each other for 4.5 hours? Like, why can't I put on a show and make sure they wear their masks too, and in a huge auditorium space with way better ventilation? You know what I mean? But whatever. So I have gotten calls for some private parties, and it's awkward because my first question is, what are your COVID safety protocols?
Yeah.
And a lot of them just disappear at that point. Because they think of it as a party, but to me, it's actually my work.
It's job. You need to be safe. Yeah. You're not going to go to a job that's not safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And you wouldn't, the same people throwing the party wouldn't expect to not wear their mask at Starbucks when they go get their coffee. So they'll do it for those workers, but they don't think of artists as workers. So they don't want us wearing masks, and they're not going to wear them around us. So it's kind of awkward, and those disappear. I did do, it sucks that I have to call it this. I did do one illegal gathering. a job, but now I call it an illegal gathering. And they did some cool stuff. At least they were trying. Like they hired a testing company to come in ahead of time.
Mhm.
So every guest and every performer at least was rapid test beforehand. Yeah. And there was a lot of social distancing. My specific performance area was outdoors, and I negotiated a private dressing room, private bathroom, so I could disinfect and not be shoving makeup in my eyes and lipstick in my mouth around a bunch of other people doing the same thing right next to me. You know, these are the concerns now. So it's tough. You want to work so bad, and every once in a while, something still comes up, like an illegal gathering you could do. And then you just want to make sure it's safe still.
Yeah. Yeah. We have 3 girls that are in Colorado that are going to go to a house, stand like 20 feet away from the house, sing to a 97-year-old veteran that's in the house, because like we can't figure out how to do, you know what I mean? It's like we want to be able to surprise this veteran, but like this veteran's 97, obviously can't leave the house, can't be exposed to us. So it's been kind of a whole thing. But yeah, I think if you get creative, you can find ways. And I guess that's kind of my favorite thing about art too, is sometimes art created with restrictions allows you more freedom. And if we were allowed to create events that followed rules, maybe we would find creative ways to do it and keep it safe. But
yeah, instead of just saying it's an illegal event, so we're not going to follow any rules.
Yeah,
I have to say I very much have appreciated the not that I've been to any, but I've seen enough advertisements in different cities of the holiday drive-through with live entertainment in it.
Cool.
Yeah, that like a lot of them have hired Andrew's sisters kind of gigs, not only in Las Vegas with our friends, the Swing It Girls, but in Miami area, which is where I was up until last week. Like they had also had an Andrew sisters during Christmas. And I was like, this is great. This is something where people can appreciate it and still be in the comfort of their home, not home, but car, and like protected and all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, some people have been doing drive-in sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Show it's been a serious consideration. But I don't own a venue with a parking lot, so I still got to rent the parking lot. Then I got to pay to put up a stage, bring in lights, bring in sound. All of a sudden, I still have to charge every car $100 just to make the show pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is rough. But if I lived somewhere else, not the center of Los Angeles, where space was not as much of a commodity, and I can see how that would work, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting. We were kind of throwing around that idea here in Vegas for like a New Year's Eve event. We started trying to call some parking lots and things. And it's interesting because I feel like there's just like this like fatigue from all business owners where they're just like, we just don't even want to do anything because this has been going on so long and we're tired. And even though it's not our problem, we don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Everyone just seems very tired right now. And so I guess that's the good news is with the vaccine is that it's giving people some like light at the end of the tunnel for the people who need that. Yeah, because we all need a little bit of hope right now.
Yeah. It's just very nice to know that there is a timeline in which we're going to get out of it. Because like up until the point that like the first vaccines weren't rolled out, we were like, when is this ever going to end? And at least now we're like, okay, well, if everybody does the things and everything goes according to timeline, probably in a year we'll be a little bit somewhat back to normal.
Yep.
And I mean, California is obviously, one thing I've said throughout this pandemic is I'm very grateful I don't still live in LA. It's been rough for you guys. You guys have had a lot of restrictions, and I don't know when you guys are going to get back to normal, but have you been starting to get inquiries for next year or past the pandemic yet there? Yeah.
No. And I also do film and television, like acting and stuff. And it's awkward. And I own 2 businesses that kind of service major motion pictures too. So I see a different side, like the major motion picture industry as well. And they want to get back, and they worked out their deal with the state. And so they're essential workers. And, they've got all these protocols, and it's really awkward even for them, even for companies like Netflix or Warner Brothers that have seemingly all the money in the world to actually put into these safety departments and do 3 times a week testing and replace these N95 masks for everybody daily. Like they seem like they have, but the budget just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and people still, no matter how careful they are coming back with COVID to work. And then you've got whole productions that have to shut down, or at least pods of productions. And it's a tough time. So everybody's really just, it's not like anybody's just going, celebrate, let's work.
Yeah.
Everybody's just walking on eggshells going, when is it going to shut down again? Either because the state is going to shut us down, or the city, whatever, or because literally COVID is going to be at your workplace, because it's a lot in LA right now. So
yeah.
So like it's very close. Every best friend I have has gotten it, and their families. And it's just, you're like, when is it going to be me?
It does kind of, I mean, there is this, I don't even want to say the state. I mean, people keep telling me, they're like, oh, it's not if it's, or it's not when, it's if, or whatever, or if or when. And yeah. I'm just like, and I get it. It's just, it's become such a big deal. And you just kind of sit here and you go, I wonder what the purpose of all this is. And I guess we'll find out on the other side. But it's gotten so out of hand. Yeah. What do you see yourself doing after the pandemic, after the world opens up?
Well, I did just get my permanent residency in Canada.
Okay.
So I've been working on that for years, and it came through pretty much simultaneously with lockdown. They closed their borders. They behaved quite a bit differently than the US. So they closed their borders, but I can still go up there because I'm a permanent resident. So I'd still have to quarantine, and they're very serious about that quarantine thing, especially being an immigrant. I would take it very seriously too. The first thing I'm going to do is not going to go up there and be like, fuck the quarantine. Yeah. Be like, hi, I'm an immigrant. I'm doing everything exactly right. But yeah, so I probably will be in Canada at a certain point, and I would like to. I'm scared about live arts, live entertainment. I want to see it return, but Cirque du Soleil has went bankrupt, as you may or may not know. The Metropolitan Opera is shut down. American Ballet Theater is shut down. Broadway is shut down. Like I'm scared for the arts. I'm really scared for the arts, especially artists who aren't getting any relief at this point. So they just shut down our ability to make money, and then there's zero relief. At least in California, there hasn't been since August. So so I'm scared for the arts. I'm scared for the artists. So I think when I get to Canada, I'll focus on directing, because I do a little film and television directing, acting, film and television, again, just kind of hoping that an industry that has snuck its way into being considered essential will be able to support me, and maybe more.
So are you going to move to Canada permanently, or are you going to maintain residencies in both locations?
Both, probably, for a while, because I have so many friends here and work here. If it does start up again, I want to be out on tour with the Lalas, if it's safe and they say, let's go, and put me back in the ring and put me on those airplanes, put me in the hotels. So, I'm very open to still performing live. It's the love of my life. But in the meantime, I think I would just be available both places, because I have friends here. But the pandemic does make it hard. So it all kind of depends on if and when people are safe to travel again and there's no quarantine, because every time I leave Canada, I don't have to quarantine in the United States. They suggest it, but 0 people enforce it. But in Canada, they do enforce it. So every time I go back, I'll have to quarantine again 2 weeks, which is expensive.
And where in quarantine? Where in Canada are you?
Well,
are you Vancouver, Toronto?
Great. Toronto's also great. I grew up in Michigan, so Toronto's closer to my family. You know, we'll see. Yeah, right now is definitely that time, like you said, to re-identify and say, what are my options? Do I want to go back to how things were? What things will I go back to if they become options again? And what things am I going to abandon and just move forward powerfully towards a new future and a new me? Like, this is an opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, it sounds like you're making the most of it.
I'm an introvert. I can do this. I can do the whole hanging out alone thing. It is getting hard, but it's not as hard on me as I know some of my more social friends, the extroverted friends. It's been even harder.
Yeah. It was very interesting. I feel like social media around like early summer, you could start to see people looking like they were cracking in terms of like needing human contact and not getting it. Where like I saw so many people just like live streaming and they'd be like, is anybody listening? Like, you're like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing that has come out of this. You know, I was like, I'm not a virtual events person. That has been shown to me. It's made it very clear during the pandemic. But I never used to do video chat with my family.
Yes.
And I actually do weekly now. And that's a good thing. I mean, I'm not into virtual events so much because they don't provide what I look for through an event. But at least I see my family when I get on the video chat. And I hope to continue that even after everybody's safe and we all have moved forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See my family on the video chat.
And someday in person.
Yeah.
I know. Me and my family made a Google Meet hangout for Christmas. So,
Oh,
yeah, so we can all hang out on Christmas.
Great. Yeah.
Right?
Mom asked me, do you want to come back to Michigan? I was like, no, you're old. First of all, you're old. No, I don't want to bring LA to you. And also, I kind of don't want to get on an airplane, specifically with the people who are traveling because it's the holidays and they're like, screw the stay-at-home orders. Those are the people I don't want to be on the airplane with anyway. And before this, I wore a mask on airplanes. I was that person on the airplane that on anyway. So, you know me, kind of germophobic a little.
Yeah. Well, in Michigan right now, I think they have like multiple hospitals at like 100% right now. Yeah. It's you know, those cold weather states are really being hit hard right now because everything is inside. You can't even open a window to get ventilation.
Yep, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I have some New York friends that moved out to LA because they're better than New York. We'd be in this tiny apartment in winter, going
like
work,
no, thank you. Exactly. That's like everyone's on top of each other in New York. That's the thing. And like people are starting, not to be morbid, but people are trying to get COVID a second time in New York because the antibodies run up after a certain amount of time. So people are like getting it again. And you're like, right? I know. It's definitely, we all can do everything to keep ourselves healthy, eat well, take naps, sleep.
Exercise.
That's been tough for a person like me who is like a studio rat since I was a child. That's how I exercise. I don't exercise. I used to not exercise for the sake of exercising. I went to the studio and danced or pole danced or did yoga. It was or Pilates or whatever. Just go to a studio because I like the movement. I like the thing that I'm doing at the studio. And I'm not used to exercising for the sake of exercising. And dancing in my living room, although I do it, it's just not the same. Even taking I do take my virtual classes, and it's not the same. It's not a studio, man. It's my living room. You can't fool me anymore.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, like, I really miss group classes because I feed off the energy of everybody in the class, like, you know, and dancing by yourself to like a television at home is great if you can get yourself in the mood, but sometimes it's just hard to get yourself in the mood to be like, I'm gonna dance by myself, like you know, it's like again, like it's like you just need one other person to like dance with you where you're like, this is fun, let's do it together. Like,
True. Exercising. But you're right, just keeping ourselves healthy is a great idea. For the
do you have a pole in your house?
Ta-da!
There we go.
Yeah, I do.
Nice. I'm so jelly. Nowhere in my house have I yet to figure out where the pole could work. My dad's house in Florida is mid-century modern, so there's like steps down everywhere, and it's like it's a very nice house, but it is not a house to put a pole in. Like,
yeah. So, you have a backyard?
He does. He has a big backyard. I saw Vixen DeMille has a really nice rig for her Lyra outside, which is like it looks like a swing set almost. And we just open up. So he has like maybe a third of an acre. Not a third, 2/3 of an acre.
Okay.
So he has a big space. So I might be able to like put that in at some point.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun designing a backyard like that. You're like, where could I put this?
Yeah.
But I am jelly of your pole in the house.
It's here.
Yeah. Now, have you picked up any hobbies during COVID? Have you decided that you should learn another trick of some sort and worked on it?
Well, my actor friend that I did a Lifetime movie with, we played opposites. We were married in the movie. He started a pottery studio literally across the street from my front door. And it's magnificently built so that it has this huge, like, kind of garage door as a wall. So they just open up the whole wall basically at the beginning of the day. So it's kind of outdoors. I mean, it's not outdoors, but it's really well ventilated. Let's put it that way. So I've been over there learning to do pottery, throw clay with the whole wheel and everything. I have in my house that I created. That's been fun. Also, I challenged myself this summer because, you know, I do some directing in film and television, and I challenged myself to direct 2 films, short films. One was 15 minutes, one was 30, that were shot entirely in isolation. So everybody in the film never interacted with somebody else. And that was fun. It was challenging. Do you get the same results as what you would if you were on a set where you could have, you know, a camera operator actually shooting the person and setting up the lights? No, it looks different, but we did a damn good job on both the films, and they were high concept and fun technical challenge. Also, another film from a director in New York asked me to act in his feature film, and that was shot in isolation too. And that was fun to see because they actually sent the equipment around to the different actors around the United States. And so I got to be my whole crew, which is what I asked my actors to do, but I got to do it on my end as well, and turn my house into, one was a green screen studio, another was a set. And that was really fun. Those projects. I'm going to start another movie here with a different director. Figuring out just how to make little movies. I also did a cool burlesque film. We went out and run a gun, we just stole the location and did a single take of, because I like classic cars. Pinup Pole Show is a classic car show too, or it was. And
or will be again.
Will be again. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine a whole bunch of car lovers getting together and performers and models and photographers? Oh, I want to see this. This was so much fun in the past. But I at least took my car out and Teddy filmed. He had his gimbal and I totally just did the burlesque in public real fast. Single and then we were out of there.
Yeah, you got to be careful in LA. I always joke, it's one of those cities where it's like you can get free locations if you can get it in the first shot. But if you're going to be standing there, you can't have a free location in LA. Somebody's going to come around and ask you to move or call the cops or
they narc you a lot in LA. Like they'll call up and they'll tell the cops that you're shooting.
Oh yeah. Where's your permit? Oh yeah. So I think I'm gonna do over the summer. A lot of photographers that Pinup Pole Show has worked with have invited me to just do some shoots, and I haven't taken them up on that yet for various reasons. But I'm beginning to feel ready to go out and shoot because that can be very safe. One photographer, one model, outdoors. With a car, probably if it's me with a car, ta-da. So that's very reasonably safe to do. So I think I'll start that. And I've taken the time, I guess you could say catch up on stuff, but to do non-paid personal projects like I redesigned 13 websites, including my own personal burlesque website, Burlesque Dance, and my acting filmmaking website, plus all these other websites that I have dominion over. So I just took time to do some techie stuff that I would have never really made time. It was always getting put off, getting paid to do it. But now nobody's paying me, so I might as well pay myself and have myself do my own work.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Also, I'm a vegan and I have been for so long. And man, now I have started a Patreon where every week I put out a new vegan recipe and I have so much fun with that. I've learned that I'm the best vegan cook ever. I don't ever want to go out to a restaurant again because the food is just so good at my house. So I'm having a lot of fun on Patreon, just making these PDFs, and they're pretty, and I get to do the photography of the food and make up the recipe and actually create it. So there's a lot of creativity that goes into that too. So cooking, I guess you could say, food preparation.
How much do you charge for that? Just because it's such a unique thing. So
on Patreon, there's different levels. So you go to patreon.com/Tonya Kay and you can kind of see the levels. The first level is just $5. Then there's a $10 level, but to get the recipes, you get to the $25 level. So much more than that too. It's not just, but
that's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people started OnlyFans pages and I thought about it and it's just not me, It's just not me. That's all. People have said in the past, like, how do you feel about being a sex worker? Because I do burlesque. And I've never thought of myself as a sex worker because I come from a dance and theater background. And I've performed fully nude in theater and no one would call that sex work. You know what I mean? So I've never really seen myself as a sex worker. And sometimes I feel like I would be selling sex. And it's weird because if I were doing OnlyFans, if I actually wanted to make money, doing OnlyFans. I would be selling my sex, which no judgment. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't, it doesn't feel comfortable for me. It feels like, well, maybe I should just go clips for sale and go like make some more money, make some real dough. So what's holding me back? And it just doesn't, I'd rather, look at me. I'd rather do vegan recipes.
Yeah.
And there's
where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being okay with like the sex worker. I think the moment you say sex worker, people have a very specific image. Where if you say like sexy spectrum, it's like because you're sexy, but you don't consider yourself a sex worker. But like you do live in the sexy wheelhouse. So it's like if you use your sexiness to sell vegan recipes instead of like, OnlyFans clips, that's okay. Like there's no police when it comes to it.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any work. If you can make a living right now, I respect you. That's how to do it. As long as it feels right to you, that's how to do it. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, is there anything else you want to cover, Tonya?
No, I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah.
Perfect. And if people want to find you online, Tonya, where can they find you?
They can go to tonyakay.com for acting and filmmaking stuff, TONYAKAY.com. If they want to see my burlesque dance and stunt work, they can go to themostdangerouswomaninhollywood.com. And my show is called Pinup Pole Show, pinuppoleshow.com. And the show with all of our fabulous photography, pinup stuff. And I am on all the social networks. It's like I'm available there. Just come hit me up and I'll respond in a few days. I'm not on it all the time, but I am on it and I will respond.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us today, Tonya. We had so much fun chatting with you. It was nice to catch up. I can't believe it was a year ago that we were doing that cannabis event here in Vegas.
Oh,
I know.
Missed that. That was so fun too.
Right?
Fun.
Oh my God. Especially with MJ BizCon online this year. I've been thinking about that and like how that was like those are such the cannabis events are some of my favorite events.
Yeah. That was a great event. You guys put it on.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of fun.
We didn't do it all. We didn't do it all. We didn't bring the llamas, which I missed last year.
There are llamas?
There were 2 llamas there.
I missed the llamas.
I know. Erin did too. When I posted it on social media, she's like, "There were llamas."
That's okay. We got the good stuff.
We did.
We got the good stuff.
I always say the best audience is a stoned audience because all they want to do is watch. They're not like trying to be loud and talk and stuff like. They're just like.
Yeah. So just before we go, a rolling audience, MDMA, ecstasy. They want to touch you and tell you how pretty you are. Okay. A drunk audience. They want to be in the middle of the action. You light your pasties on fire and then there's a drunk person right there. I'm like, what? This is dangerous, literally, for you and for me. But people, they're so chill. You are right. They're just and chill.
and a lot of times they want to do sing-alongs too. They sing if there's a singer, they'll sing along with the singer.
Oh,
it's so cute.
I miss that. I miss that. I can't wait for it to come back. That celebratory, we do events and just being around people and causing celebration as your job and being in the atmosphere where music plays loud. I took it for granted. Almost every gig I did had music being DJ'd. Now I'm like, there's a definitive lack of loud music in my life, and I miss it. I miss the celebratory attitude. They get dressed up. They're there to have a good time. That very rarely does it go south, So I can't wait for that to happen again.
Yeah, it will. It will. We all just gotta get focused on the future.
Yeah.
And enjoy the now. And doing what you can do in the now, I guess, is the other part, you know?
Yeah.
Focus on what you can do.
Yeah.
It's true. All of those websites you directed us to are going to be nicer because you redid them.
Exactly. Well, thanks so much for chatting, Tonya.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. Bye.
Bye. I was like,
Oh, that was great. I'm so glad we got to chat with her. I really do enjoy Tonya Kay.
She is a delightful creature.
Yes, and I mean, she's been doing this for far longer than most people have as well.
Yes.
And she looks exactly the same. I mean, in terms of her face, her style has changed a lot, but the woman has not aged, which is probably that like vegan pole dancing lifestyle that she leads.
Yeah. She definitely has like a very limited amount of body fat. So you see every muscle. You're like, I didn't know that muscle existed on a human body. And it does.
It's beautiful.
On Tonya Kay's body. You're like, oh, wow. Yeah.
So, Kat, it's been a few months since we chatted. What have you been up to?
Me? I'm trying to remember the last time we did a show. I mean,
it was like months ago. Yeah.
It was months and months ago. Well, I think we hadn't even started doing our online murder mystery events. So Julia and I have started doing online capers that are interactive, immersive theater, which has been a lot of fun because we both have become writers again, writing our shows.
Writing monologues again. I haven't done it since college. Yes,
we're actually producing one that's being done on Wednesday, which is the Candy King Caper. In technically, we're working with a restaurant in the Bay Area, so you can get the takeout and then play the game as part of the experience, which has been a lot of fun and a nice way to have somewhat of a theatrical experience from the comfort of your own home, because you have to be at your own home right now. So
yeah, it's also like one of the things that I'm most proud of about pretty much everyone in my world during COVID is everybody's really been focused on creating things that they can create and haven't been focused on what they can't do. You know what I mean? So I enjoy doing the virtual events. It's what we can do right now. You know, we're also focusing a lot on Pinups After Dark, which is, as Tonya mentioned, it's our OnlyFans for Pinups on Tour. If you want to check it out, it's OnlyFans/Pinups After Dark. But it's really where we post all the naughty stuff that Facebook won't allow and Instagram won't allow. Those platforms are pretty regulated. And also we have some supporters that just aren't a lot of fun sometimes. So it's nice to have a place for the supporters that want the raunchy stuff to be able to get the raunchy stuff, but we can keep the Facebook clean for the people that just want to see veteran photos and girls in pinup dresses.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a fun experience.
We serve both audiences. Yes. And it's been great. We've been earning money and it's been fun. I don't think we're probably going to get back on the road with Pinups on Tour until May.
Yeah.
We're pretty much booked every weekend starting in May right now. So if you want to book Pinups on Tour, you're probably going to be looking at Not the Best Night or June for next year, or July or August. There's other nights, but just not May. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Julia, you also started another company.
Yes, the Event People. It's a creative co-op here in Las Vegas. It's a company-ish. I'll call it ish.
Brands.
It's more of a place for all the amazing event people that I work with to get noticed by the clients that we have. So instead of a traditional event company that kind of hires everybody on staff, it's more of a group of freelancers. And we help connect them with great clients, which is the concept. So the clients get a great value because they're getting direct access to the artist, and the artists get to charge more because there's not this middleman or multiple middlemen at some of these corporate events. There'll be like 7 or 8 middlemen before the client actually gets them. So I'm really excited about it. We're having a lot of fun with it. Dom is kind of leading that. It works with us. She's great. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to see the girls create stuff. They've been doing these pinup after dark shoots, these like boudoir type shoots, and it's been fun to see them create, because I don't want to be like there was a time in my career where I really enjoyed doing nothing more than creating. You know what I mean? And it's nice to see people do that. Now it's a little different. You know, it's like I enjoy seeing the puzzle pieces move now. It's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that like anything, it is like creation's a very interesting process artistically, because it's almost like you're making a puzzle and putting the puzzle pieces together at the same time. So you're like, I don't know what this puzzle is, but it's something about like, let's, for example, say like pinups. And then like the more you create it, the more you're like, oh, this is pinups after dark, which is different than this, and it's not this and this. And it's like, and then you're like, oh, that's what it's always been. It's always been pinups on dark. I just had to figure out what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. The other fun thing I've started doing recently, which I've really enjoyed, is I've started meditating 15 minutes twice a day. And okay, no joke. I just decided, because this whole thing, she was like, prove to yourself that this works. Give yourself some outrageous number that you want to make this month, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll give myself $20,000. We have 0 events on the book, except Servino, which is not a $20,000 gig.
It is not. It's very nice. I mean, like restaurant, we're just happy that restaurant's going to pay us.
Exactly.
They got shut down again. They're in Northern California. Like, you know, like it's a delightful program, but it's not $20,000.
Exactly. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start doing this. I'll start trying to manifest the $20,000. I got a grant at the beginning. I've been doing this for 2 weeks. I got a grant 2 days ago for $20,000.
Boom. Very nice. Very nice.
Isn't that so? Now I am sold. Twice a day meditations. I was like, I'm sold. This is great. I'm sold. This works. I will keep doing it. I read a book by Emily Fletcher. I highly recommend it, called Stress Less, Accomplish More. Breaks meditating down into something super simple, non-scary, and gives you something to do kind of while you're doing it. It's great for people that want to get more out of their day. So I think when you think you're taking 30 minutes away, you're taking time away, but you're really giving it back to yourself, Kat. I mean, you know, you meditate.
Yeah, I do. I did it this morning before I went on my bike ride. So
I rode my spin bike today. You can kind of see it in the background. There's my spin bike.
Nice.
Yeah, I rode that today.
Yeah, so. I got one of those in Florida now.
How is it?
It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Because, when I was in college, I used to work out my freshman year. We had like a mini gym in the dorms. So I would like ride my bike and read all the books, the philosophy books I needed to read at like 1 a.m, and then I would go to bed. And like, I love it because I can do that with a bike at home now. Like if I want to work out right before I go to bed so that I like fall straight asleep, you know, and watch a movie. Like I'm rewatching Westworld right now and like riding the bike. So I like watch an episode and.
Okay. So I saw season 1. I didn't see season 2. I was on an airplane and they had season 3 and I was like.
Season 3 is a very different season.
It was so okay. I mean, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. It's really good. And I mean, I wasn't super into Westworld. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I get it. I get why you're rewatching it.
Yeah, and every time there's more details. It's a thinking person show, and I'm a big fan of those because, like,
because it makes you feel smart.
Because
you're smart and you get them.
Yes, all of that. And there's titties in it, so.
There are, which is my favorite thing, titties. I love them so much. Okay, so you found us really fun stuff to talk about this week.
I did.
What do you think we should open with?
Well, I'm gonna go with the Jewish porn.
Okay, Jewish porn. Now, people, you did not mishear that. That is exactly what she wants to go with. And I actually did find this article fascinating because it included some information that I definitely didn't know about. If you want to explain, Kat.
Yeah. So these are. So this was an article from Mel magazine, which I'm not actually quite sure. That might be Melbourne. I'm a member of some sex Facebook group out of Australia. So I sometimes see a lot of this stuff. And it's the article is called The Secret High Risk World of Ultra Orthodox Jewish Porn. And
Yes.
it's called, so it's the From community, as they're known, or From videos, which caters to devout Jewish from porn, which is like porn, but it's not really porn. It's just like things that are taboo in the Jewish world, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, this isn't just the Jewish world. So there's Jews, and then there's Orthodox Jews, and then there's this like ultra Orthodox communities where they tend to be very insular. They tend to kind of, isolate themselves where they live because they want to maintain a certain set of values within their community, right? But one of the things that's considered a sin in Orthodox Judaism is masturbating because you're spilling seed, like seed that could be used to produce life. You're spilling it, so it's a sin.
Right.
So porn obviously is very, very frowned upon. In these communities, and it's so funny that it takes so little to get these guys turned on because they're so restricted in what they see that it doesn't even rate on our scale.
That's what shows you what taboo really is. Taboo is the gap between what's acceptable to you and what's considered naughty. Right.
Yeah.
So their version of naughty is completely different than like someone who grew up in a more mainstream society and has seen regular porn their entire life. So like they have an example of the From porn, and it's a girl who's like, she's wearing tights and a long skirt and a long shirt, and she's itching her ass, I want to say, and she's pulling the skirt up so you almost see her bottom, but you don't, and that's the video.
Yeah, that's the whole video. It's that you kind of almost see her butt cheeks, but you don't. That's it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no skin because she has tights on. It's like, I grew up in New Jersey. Not the town I was in, but like within like a half hour's drive, there was a very Orthodox Hasidic Jew population. And one of my yoga teachers would talk about her private classes with one of these women. And in the world of like Jewish Orthodox, in their society, the men are considered esteemed when they don't work and they just study like spiritual beliefs and tenets, and then the women do all the work. So these women were like boss bitches that were running companies, had 9 children, and then like she would teach yoga to this one woman, and they had to rename all of the sun salutations because they were considered too pagan in style. So like she couldn't say sun salutation because it could be worshiping the sun. So she could only call it Series A and B. There were a lot of them,
Yeah.
And because it was just like,
I would argue.
Go ahead.
I would argue that Judaism in general is a rules religion. It's it's an organization based on tenets that if you follow, they're your tenets with God, their rules. I mean, but you know what? They're not the only rule-based religion out there. There's a lot. I was
about to say, like, isn't all religion a rule-based religion? Like, to some degree?
I don't know. I would argue that Buddhism is not a rule-based religion. Like, what rules are you supposed to follow? Like, I can't think of one.
I mean, I think it depends. Like,
there's paths. There's things that are good, but it's not like they're not ultimate deal breakers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I would say also especially the Christian faith is very rule based too.
Yes, well, in Muslim religions,
yeah,
very rule based.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of rules myself. I don't really like them very much.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
But one of my favorite things about this is when they asked the creator of this website why he created it. He was just like, I like sex. that was his answer. Like, I like sex. Like, just because it's not allowed doesn't mean I don't like it.
Right.
And I think it's one of those things that goes back to, we can try to repress all this as much as possible. But the thing is, like, sexual power is it's power. And as people get ultimately more spiritual, generally they become more sexual. Like,
yes. And also if they get more creative, they have a tendency to become more sexual too.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, all of it.
It was interesting. Check out the article in Mel Magazine if you want to learn more. I definitely learned a lot from it, and I thought it was very interesting. So that is my seal of approval. So you also found another article from, I don't even know what country this is from, but it was Bodybuilder Marries His Sex Doll.
Oh yes. This it does say the country at some point. Kazakhstan.
It's not to sound ignorant, did not even know that was a country.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I didn't.
Yeah. This is a bodybuilder. So this is from the Mirror out of the UK. And this was Bodybuilder Marries Sex Doll after whirlwind romance during coronavirus lockdown. And the gentleman in question identifies himself as pansexual, which means that, like, pretty much he's in love with love.
Everyone?
Like
in love with love. Like, the way pansexuality, unlike other sexualities, doesn't have to be tied to an actual
alive being. So you can fall in love with a sex doll, and I mean, it's pretty much
very one-way love, though, because the sex doll can't fall back in love with you. That's that's the part that I'm like, okay, whatever. But this guy has taken his relationship very, very seriously. I mean, they got married.
Yes.
Which is kind of insane that it was legal where they did it. But I guess it was. They were both considered a male and a female over the age of 18, so they could do it. I don't know where the loophole in the law was on that one, but
yeah, I mean, the gentleman in question seems to have a lot of quirks where, like, he was describing his sexual quirks, and he says, I love to be tortured and I can endure quite a lot of pain, but I love to dominate too. Now, the thing about a sex doll is you're not going to get any of the domination.
You're not going to get any response from the sex doll.
It is a doll.
I have to say, there was a part of me that felt like this author, like, reading how they were describing it, like, was kind of fetishizing it a little bit in the way it was written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the stuff that they were describing. I was like, this doesn't even have anything to do with his sex doll. The fact he likes to dominate, but they definitely included that in the article because
it is the Mirror. Like, it's like one of those. It's one of those UK rags. It's like the Star magazine here in the United States. Like, where it's a little bit more. But, like, I think the thing is that, like, 2020, the one thing that 2020 has shown you is anything else is, like, your life can be exactly what you want it to be in whatever form that is. So it's like, if Mary, like, look at this guy in this picture. He looks
Yuri
so
is very happy. His name's Yuri, by the way. His name's
Yuri.
He's very happy.
He's like very tenderly embracing this woman that he is married, you know? So it's like, if this is the thing that makes him happy, then good for him. Like, you know, it's not my way, but let's be serious. We're what, like 10, 15 years away from AI being to the point where you can fall in love with a robot, like, you know, Westworld style.
Yeah, I don't want to judge anything that makes anybody happy. There, you know, I always kind of wonder how these stories come about. And I'm like, what was the catalyst, one, behind doing it, two, behind putting out a press release about it? Because it's not like the media, like people think the media just finds stuff. They don't. You have to send them a press release. Someone had to send them a press release on this. Like, so.
Oh, he documented this all on his Instagram. Like, it is, this isn't just the story of him, him marrying a sex doll, because that was
the romance.
It's the romance. It's the want to let people know that this is his version of romance. Like, you know, there are people who have quiet sex lives that like they do kinky things, but they don't talk about it outside of them. And then there are people that like, hey, I want to identify this. I want you to understand that this is my life's journey, and I'm going to display it in X, Y, and Z reasons and ways so that you can hear about my journey. And it's a little bit more of that with him because, you know.
Well, good on Yuri. He found somebody, you know, that's, and to be fair, like during COVID, that's a very safe partner to have. You know what I mean? You're not going to get COVID from them.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's true. And it's like, if that makes you happy, if you realize that like, that's your version of love and you're happy with it, that's all that matters. Like,
well, yeah, well, I mean, and dating in general can be tough, which actually kind of brings us to our final story of the day. This is your new obsession, right, Kat?
It's so cute.
Should we play this video for people?
Sure. It's not a long video at all.
No, we're going to play this video. And it is the number one way to respond to sexual texts that a guy might send you. So this is a dating coach that advises women. We'll let you guys listen to the advice, and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
In this video, I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to give you a crazy powerful text message that you can send to a guy that shows just how powerful language can be in getting men to behave the way you want them to around you. Then I'm going to give you something that is going to change the way you text men forever. Now, technology has done some wonderful things for us. But one of the worst side effects of all this technology we have is that men now have a voice and a vehicle for really inappropriate sexual advances. And they're able to do it really early before they've even got to know you. Some of them to begin the conversation. Let's have an example. He says to you, "What are you up to?" And you say, "About to go out, just got out of the shower." Men will often use something you say as a reason to go 5 steps ahead. And they're doing this as a way to test your boundaries. So when you say just got out of the shower, he says, "Send me a pic then." At this point, you choose which type of woman you want to be. Do you want to be passive and just be like, "No, I can't," and then keep going with the conversation? Do you want to be aggressive and say, "I'm not that kind of woman. Why would you assume that I would send you a picture?" Or do you want to be the charming woman who shows her standard, but also how sexy she is at the same time? Now, I have a way for you to do this, a very simple message that will separate you from every other woman. You say, "I think you have me confused with a future me who's been on many more dates with you." Now, the beauty of this is that on one hand, you've shown your standard by saying, "I wouldn't do that so soon." But on the other hand, you've shown you're not a prude. In other words, if he were the guy that invested in you and spent many more dates with you, you would be the type of person that would be prepared to be intimate with him in a variety of ways. But you have to be earned. Intimacy with you has to be earned. Do you see how powerful language can be?
So that gives you an idea. He helps. His name is what? Matthew Hussey?
Matthew Hussey. Yeah. He's like, he's a contributor to Cosmo. He has like a column in Cosmo, and like he
He's very attractive. He obviously has that lovely accent.
Yes.
But he seems to break it down pretty step by step on what people should do.
This is the thing that I've really enjoyed about this guy. First of all, like all of it goes down to girl standards. All of like all of his teachings are like, you have to first figure out your standards and then communicate them properly. Because most of the time girls don't even know their standards. So they're willing to kind of lower them because they want the guy, especially if they really want the guy, if they think he's cute, if they think he's, but to him,
we've all done it. We've all settled for less than we really want because somebody's there.
Right, because somebody's there and you're lonely and you think but you know, he's all about like communicating what your value is, because one of the things that he goes over in detail is like you have to figure out what your values are so that you can get the guy that's going to match those values, but you got to start standing up for the values. And it's very interesting because like as girls, I think one of the times is like when you get a text message from somebody and it's like, how are you doing? And you haven't heard from them for a while and you're like, I don't understand, why are you doing this? Like, you know, or like it's very vague communication. Like the thing I love about that video more than anything else is how he explains that guys try and jump 5 steps ahead, where it's like they don't understand the sequencing. So they're like, let me see if I can jump the 5 levels to see if you're the type of girl that will do that. Because it's true, guys do that.
I have to say, I feel like I'm very good at online dating because I always know the exact right thing to say. Like, for instance, like when somebody wants like nude photos or a sexy photo, I'm like, oh, a photo like that, you're going to have to know me well enough to take it yourself. Like, that's a good one, right? Like, okay, like, no, like, I don't even know you. Like, I'm not going to send you a photo. But maybe if we were in a relationship and you just took the photo, I probably wouldn't say shit. But no, you just want, and but it's also one of those things where, you know, there's a lot of guys out there just trying to throw stuff against the wall, you know, to see what sticks. Don't be the thing they stick to if that's all they're doing. Yeah. You know, that's not really what you want. You want the guy who's out there purposely fishing.
Well, and they're only going to fish for what they consider value. Like like one of the other things that he talks about is relationship versus desire, because you actually need both of them to make a relationship work. And a relationship is face-to-face time, intimacy, like, you know, so it's like the intimate moments. But the desire, the wanting, that comes when you're away. You need to not be in front of somebody all of the time because you want them wanting you. And the more that they want you, the more they're going to commit to a relationship. So it's like you have to, so like when it comes to establishing your boundaries and establishing like what your values are, the more you establish them, the more confident you become. And like, that's okay. It works for somebody else, but it doesn't work for me. That's when you become more desirable, in the way that Tonya started off this interview saying that confidence was the thing that she found the most sexy. Because really that's what everybody finds the most sexy. It's someone who really knows themselves. Like sometimes I will be extremely attracted to people that physically I'm not attracted to if you show me a picture, but because they know themselves so well, I'm like, damn. Oh yeah, you got this. You got this.
There's a whole chapter in this book that I'm like a huge fan of now, that goes over how when you start meditating, you like actually become more attractive. Yeah. Because it's this whole concept that, like I told you earlier, detachment's sexy. It's sexy if you don't care how the outcome of this date goes and you're just living in the present and having a good time. That is a sexy trait. To be like, wow, this person's so enjoyable, and they don't seem to be like focused on the future, or they just seem to be in the now. Like, that's sexy, you know?
Right. It's sexy because it frees up the lack of expectations. You're not dragged down by like what I need you to be. It's like, you can be who I want you to be, but I don't need you to be that.
Now, if we were to like flip this and somebody was to do this for guys, do you think guys would want the same kind of value-based coaching? or do you think they would be looking for the shortcuts to get girls into bed?
And I think they probably would like the other one. Now, this guy, I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of his old stuff, but I've heard him mention that he started out as a guys coach.
Okay, yeah.
And initially, he coached guys. And then I think he realized somewhere along the way the girls needed more coaching because the girls had been taught to kind of assimilate more versus stand up. So a lot of his teaching is like, I've looked into like taking one of his workshops, and the whole point is like the workshop, by the end of it, you're supposed to be so happy with yourself you don't care whether or not you get a relationship, because usually that's when you get a relationship, when you're like, I don't give a fuck, like I think I'm great, and like if you don't see it, that's okay, because somewhere maybe there's somebody for me, but if there's not, that's also okay, like, which is exactly what we just talked about in terms of attachment. Like,
yeah,
that's like
sexy.
yeah, it's like, okay, well, if this happens, I'm okay, and if this happens, I'm okay, and if this happens, I'm okay. So overall, I don't care which one happens, because I'm going to be okay any which way to Sunday.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, I think it's interesting and definitely something to fall down the rabbit hole, especially if you're online dating, because there are, sometimes when you're online dating, it just feels like you don't even know what to say because these people throw things at you. And this guy seems to have a video for everything.
He does. He definitely does. And it's just, I mean, it's nice to really hear a guy say, you know what, you're worth something. And a cute guy, of course. But like, I think that that's one of the interesting things one of the reasons why I appreciate this guy so much is because it's not about changing yourself to get somebody. It's about, fixing your internal dialogue so that your standards are elevated to the point where you bring the person you really want.
Yeah, and you have fun along the way. Because remember, dating's supposed to be fun. That's what sometimes people forget, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, full confession, I got broken up with kind of weirdly last night. I mean, it's fine. I'm not like super torn up about it. But it was one of those ones where I was like, this has nothing to do with me. And I can tell this has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what happened was he went out of town. He's going to be out of town for a couple weeks and then he's moving. And I guess on his flight, he got in his head because as soon as he landed, I got like a paragraph about everything he thought about on the plane and how he made this decision. And I just was like, okay, like, what do you say back to that? You're just like, you've unilaterally made this decision and I'm accepting it. Yeah. Like, okay. Like, yeah, that's fine. I don't know. That's okay.
I mean, it's, you never should try and convince somebody that you're great.
No, that's like the number one rule of dating. If you find yourself like talking them into the relationship, just don't, because you don't want to be with somebody you had to talk into the relationship.
Yeah.
At any point, honestly.
Yeah. No.
If your instincts I mean, that's just not where you want to be. So
right. Yeah.
So for all the men out there, I am single and ready to mingle. I mean, I was single and ready to mingle before. He was just more of a like guy I was dating. But I'm really single and ready to mingle. If you're like COVID safe, we video. Well, it's weird. Dating during COVID is weird because you want to like, you're like, I want to make sure I really like you before I risk being COVID exposed. But
and I mean, good on you for actually doing it. Like, I'm not doing it at all. But like,
I don't have anybody I'm risking,
Yeah, it's and I mean, like, I there's part of me that like wishes I was a good online dater, but I'm not. I sell myself better in person. Like, I'm adorable. Like, I'm very cute. I'm funny. I'm smart. But like in the world of online dating, I barely get a hit. Like,
I just don't even understand how that's possible.
Or like when I went through a couple periods. We've probably talked about them on the show. Like, I remember I once did like Tinder and I matched with like 100 guys. And I heard from maybe less than 10. And of those, I think I got like 1 or 2 dates. Like,
so it's like 100 for 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand this. Like, when people ask me out in real life, like, we actually go out, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it works for some people, and like I've thought about going online again just because like it's nice. It's nice to find someone that you have shared interests in that you can be a feed board to. You know, I was staying at my sister's house last night, and her husband, like, we all got stoned and watched the Christmas Chronicles, which is the Kurt Russell Christmas movie, which is great, by the way. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's a lot of fun. He's like a sexy Santa, and like he has like a sexy sled that looks like a motorboat from the 1940s made out of wood. Like, it's a very different take on Santa Claus. But like, I was looking at them and I was thinking about it, and I was like, they have such a great relationship because this is something they both enjoy to do together. Like, you know, and like, I would like someone like that, someone that I could share a moment with, but like, I don't need someone to fill a moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. When I have someone in my life, it's nice, but it's also like when I don't, I mean, I have a lot. I also have a lot of other people in my life. That's like, people are always my phone's always going off. You know, I have people, so I don't feel like lonely. My family this year you're home for Christmas, but I'm not going home for Christmas. My parents don't want me, COVID, and
yeah.
So family doesn't want me. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I really think I'll be fine. Maybe like on Christmas, I'll be a little bummed. But then by the time I'm FaceTiming with my family, I'll completely have forgotten about it. You know what I mean? It's like, I think I'm like Tonya, where it's like, I'm naturally more of an introverted person. So it's easier for me too, but.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like it's, I don't know the right answer on it, but like I feel like 2020 is about us getting really clear on who we are and like being okay with it every step of the way, you know, and from it, it's like so like in a normal Christmas, right? Like if you didn't have a date and you went to all the Christmas parties, maybe you would feel bad, like more so than like you're home alone. But it's like 2020 is about you learning to be okay with being home alone because you're not going to go to the Christmas parties. So it's like, it's almost like,
guess who you have to love first, Kat?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It is like the purest distillation of like, just figure out how to love yourself. Like, and you know, I mean, a lot of people have had some very interesting times in COVID because they weren't doing it before COVID and now they're having to deal with it. Like, you know, you hear about like people's marriages breaking up and like people changing jobs completely because like, you know, they thought they were getting by being happy, but they weren't really happy. They were tricking themselves into being happy, you know? And this is the point where like the shit hits the fan and you're like, you got to figure out what makes you happy, whatever it is. Yeah. And you got to be happy with whatever you got because, you know, there's a lot of things that you love to do that you can't do right now.
Yeah. And I mean, I know my experience is not typical. I wish it was, but I am happier now today than I was at the start of COVID because I didn't even realize that you don't have to live life with that much anxiety all the time.
Yeah.
You just don't have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a necessary thing. And I think this fear that if somehow I let go of the anxiety, all of a sudden the work was going to fall away. Then when the work wasn't there and the universe still supported me, I was like, well, I guess I was worried for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. You have to fall in love with yourself because then like, and you got to just be happy. Just happy. I'm happy for happy sake.
I know. I'm feeling myself lately, and I'm feeling you, Kat.
I'm feeling you too, Julia.
Well, we have. We're gonna take a couple weeks off, I think, and then we'll have another guest coming up here. We're gonna start sprinkling in people. It's probably not gonna be weekly, but as Kat and I find cool and interesting people for you guys to talk to, we're gonna bring them on the program and do just that because we love sharing all these interesting, sexy artists with you. If you want to hear more, please go to iTunes, find our podcast, Better Than Sex. You can go back and listen to all the past episodes. We're on episode 44, so there are 43 other episodes with amazing people to listen to. You can find us online, WTTburlesque.com, all of our social media at WTTBurley. I think that's it. Kat, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good at the moment. Thank you.
All right.
Until next time.